thank you everybody for showing up for pricing and presenting luxury property. We are very excited to have Carolyn Howe and Lois Potratz to be our presenters today to talk about that subject, and we will make sure that we have time after their talk for you to ask questions. And we would like to keep the questions around pricing and presenting, as that is our topic for today. And if you don't know Carolyn, she is our professional development director for Keller Williams Luxury. And her job is to advance Keller Williams Luxury agents' professional development. And she also has a group out of San Francisco, the Carolyn K. Howe Group. And she has sold over $500 million of property. So I think she is very well qualified to present on the subject. And she is consistently ranked over as the top 1 to 3% of agents worldwide. And then we have our very own top producing realtor here, Lois Potratz, and she is our KW luxury director here for our market center. And what she is known for is just having some extraordinary client communication and client customer service, and has these fabulous events, as well as being able to have these fantastic parties, as well as pricing some interesting properties down here on our coast and downtown. So without further ado, let's go ahead. And the question is, when you go out on a listing appointment, how do you prepare for pricing the home and then presenting this price to the seller? Carolyn, why don't you start?
Sure. Really happy to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation. It's an honor to be alongside Lois on this topic. So I do represent some luxury listings, or many luxury listings here in the Bay Area. And some of our luxury listings may qualify for the price, but not necessarily are they true luxury listings. So in this context, I'm only talking about true luxury. So luxury or ultra luxury. So the first thing that we do is we have to understand the client and who they are. And so the first thing we do is really investigate who this person is. We look at their LinkedIn, we look at their Facebook, we look at their Instagram, any social media that they have. If we have anybody that we know that might work within his or her company, we kind of say, okay, what's their reputation like? How do they make decisions? We try to understand them first before we present. And the first thing that we do, well, knowing that some of these luxury and ultra luxury clients, what they want is they want you to help them save time and make it as painless as possible. And they want it fast, quick, and easy. And a lot of times they're surrounded by wealth advisors, they're surrounded by estate attorneys. So they've got this crackerjack team all around them. We have to present ourselves as deserving to be at that table with them. So we need to present ourselves as a real estate consultant, not just a real estate agent. And by doing some of the steps that we do, we find that they really bring us into that kind of their little group after we show them what we can do. What we do is we really investigate the market around their area. And some of these properties, I'm sure Lois is going to talk about, it's quite unique and unusual. And we always present a pre-listing packet first, because we want to lead the conversation. And what that is in the packet is a little bit about us, how we market, our successes, testimonials, and most importantly, we actually include the comps in our pre-listing packet. And the reason we do that is we want them to know the numbers that we're going to be looking at when we're having that discussion later on during our meeting. So they're already prepared because they see the numbers in front of them. And because they're probably looking on Zillow, they're probably at Redfin, Trulia, they're looking at all these other estimates that aren't true estimates, right? We all agree. So that's number one, is understanding your client, who they are, how do they make decisions, how do they operate, and then sending out a pre-listing packet already with the comps that we're going to be talking about. Then what we do is when we get into the listing, we actually bring up Redfin and Zillow, and we say, they're fantastic. They're excellent tools. We use them sometimes ourselves because of the other tools that they have within the apps. However, the Zillow has come out already saying that their estimates are not accurate. A few years ago, the CEO of Zillow came out and said, I'm going to sell my listing, my own home for within 10% of this estimate, and it ended up being 40% under. And he also offered millions of dollars to anybody who could create the correct algorithm, and nobody's collected. So that tells you a lot. And I tell them about why Zillow and Redfin are not correct. Oftentimes they just draw a circle around your property, and within that circle could be several different neighborhoods that command different prices. And then what they look at is similar square footage, similar bedroom count, similar lot size, and they kind of shake it up and spit it out. But they don't take into consideration condition, topography, floor plan, all things that contribute into the desirability and marketability and what the buyers will feel ultimately is the value of your home. So when you explain it that way, they kind of put Zillow and Redfin aside, and then you have their full attention. So those are the first few things that we do. We look in MLS, and I'll give you an example of a very unusual property. It's a huge property. It belonged to the CEO of a major global consulting company, and he moves fast, he makes decisions, and he has a lot of yes people around him. And we are not one of those. And he said, my house is worth $30 million. Okay, tell me why your house is worth $30 million. And he talks about the materials they use, et cetera, et cetera. And he's in a neighborhood that probably commands maybe $15 million. And so what I did was I looked in MLS, and I looked at within the area, within the neighborhood, if there was anything comparable. There was nothing comparable. So I looked at several other areas that might have comparable properties and size, kind of reputation, or the cachet of this particular neighborhood. And I called all the agents, and I toured all of the properties, active, pending, and I did ask to tour some of the solds. And with that, I was able to create kind of a market analysis of a range. And I always let them know that we will not be setting the price on our first conversation, first meeting, because we have to walk through and do our diligence. And that's when you'll be able to do a better comparable analysis later on. So I don't, any questions so far? No. So that's generally our steps of what we do. Find out about the agent, pre-listing packet with comps, discussion about Zillow and Redfin and why they don't matter, and then full detailed research and spending the time and looking at the other comps, especially if they're unusual properties.
May I piggyback onto that?
Sure.
Great. No, I love what you just said, because I also try to do as much research as possible ahead of time. And I was laughing with an agent yesterday who was going on her first luxury listing appointment today. And I said, see what you can find. I mean, we're in North Carolina. So in your closet, you better have a red jacket for State, a baby blue for Chapel Hill, and you got to have the dark blue for Duke at a minimum. So I try to see, as you did, what their background is, who they are, and also looking at where they are in life. Because no one, especially generally people like this, they don't randomly just list their house willy-nilly. There's a change, something. Are they upsizing, downsizing? Is their company just went public and now they're going to triple their house size? Or is it a bad time in the market and they need to sell it? No, so why are they selling? That's the big why. And I agree with you also. I have a range in mind, and depending on how specific the property is. And I love your point, because sometimes you have these outliers and there really aren't comps. So you have to go maybe to not only another neighborhood, but possibly another city.
Yeah.
So I have a historic property I'm closing on next week. It's a bed and breakfast. And we had to comp it to Savannah, Charleston, Atlanta, because there really wasn't anything here that was comparable in order to get it to appraise and also to put on the market at a price that they would probably sell. One of the things that I do like to do is I ask for a tour of the home before we sit down. And boy, can you tell a lot from the master closet. You'll know who you're dealing with. If it's, if everything's an inch apart and they're color coded, like the blues, you better be on your game.
Great point.
If it's kind of willy-nilly, yeah, I see how organized the kitchen is. I see how organized the master closet is. Now, granted, they may have somebody doing it for them, but if they do have somebody doing it for them, that's because they like it that way. So I might need to make some adjustments in my approach once I get a feel for their house. And then you'll also see what they take pride in. That $30 million house, why does he think it's 30 million? Is it because he built an indoor basketball court? Well, that's great, but not everybody wants that. But you kind of get to know who they are during that walk and talk period. So that's something that I look for as well.
Yes, I love it. That's a great point about the closet.
Right?
Taking notes on that. Yes. Another thing is, looking at what else is out there in that price point, right? And then what I also do is call the agents and say, who has been touring your home? What is their profile? And so then I'll know in the 30 million range or 20 million range, who are the buyers right now looking at these houses? And then synthesizing that information to say, okay, for this demographic, for this price point, this is how we're going to have to position the home, whether it's staging or basically how we present it. Is it a couple who is about to retire? Their taste is going to be different from somebody, like you said, Lois, that just went IPO, they're in their 30s, their taste is going to be different. So that's how we're going to present the home, is to that demographic, if that's the group that's been looking in the $20 to $30 million range.
Absolutely. One of the things, and I think I picked this up in Orlando, although it could have been someplace else, but it's the word competition. Most of the sellers, unless perhaps it's generational wealth, I mean, that's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
But earned wealth, successful people, generally, someone that you're sitting down with is going to be a very strong, high D, type A.
Yes.
And they want to win. So
Yeah.
something that I talk about with them is that once your property is listed and it's on the market, it's then a competition.
Mm-hmm.
So who are your competitors?
Mm-hmm.
And how do we win? And boy, you just watch that shift, because they're all of a sudden it's we, and we're going to win.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and again, these people are very busy, but if possible, I try to set another appointment where maybe we go tour some of their competitors.
Yeah.
Together in my car with snacks.
Yeah.
And it creates sort of a bonding. We get to analyze everything together. Now, not everybody has time to do that, but if you can, I find it kind of helpful.
I completely agree. There was one situation where it was the very difficult seller. We put in the car to look at the competition, and they got it right away, because all of a sudden they saw that their house was lacking the guest house. Their house is lacking X, Y, and Z. And then it really kind of it was a reality check for that client. We also add in expireds and canceled listings into our comps, because it tells you, yes, this home is listed for 20 million right now, or 10 million, or whatever, but look where they started. And so if you consolidate all the time that they're on market and all the reductions and changes they've done on the listing, do you want to be in this position 6 months from now and having to reduce from even where it should be? And so adding the expired, because the higher price point you get, the more chances you're going to see expired, canceled, price adjustments, etc. And that tells the story of what the buyers will and will not accept for certain price points.
Right. So which category do they want to be in? Do they want to be in the happy category or the sad category?
Right, exactly,
You know?
exactly.
Yeah.
Now, you said, so you both said a two-step, listing appointment. So you do, the pre-listing, and then when you go to the first time to look at the house, is there anything that you leave them with? Or are they there sometimes? Is there something that you do leave them with, and then do you come back for the second time? And or how does that second appointment look?
Lois, would you like to go first?
Oh, sure. I try never to leave a listing appointment without a second appointment set in stone. I generally ask for, depending on the immediacy, 24 to 48 hours to go back. And now that I've seen a home, do a deep dive in terms of my research, maybe making some adjustments from what I might have thought before, and then coming back to them with 3 prices: best possible scenario, a probable scenario, and then I priced it too high and now I'm accepting this scenario. And then we can discuss it from there. Yeah, so I always try, I don't ever have a price in mind when I go into a home. I try to come in with sort of like a clean slate so that I can take it in, because quite frankly, it's the little things. And Carolyn, I'm sure you see this all the time too. If somebody has a lot of wealth to spend on their home, they might have spent $60,000 on hand-carved French doors. That doesn't necessarily add value to the home. So really, where does that fall? And as you said too, we're talking truly luxury properties, but here water drives everything. So you can have a nice home, but if it's on deep water with a dock for a 40-foot boat out your door, I'm going to use a term that a builder once gave me. But every home, please excuse me, but those of you in the market center have heard me. Every home has to have a hot dam. And the hot dam can override maybe some faults. So I try to look for the hot dam in the house when I'm there.
I love that. Okay, may I borrow that?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. I will credit it to you.
Absolutely.
So before we go in, we send the pre-listing packet. Usually it is delivered, hand delivered, in a box, beautifully presented. Immediately when they get it, they know this is luxury. This is not just flyer paper. It is beautifully bound, wrapped in a bow, our colors. It's hand delivered to them. And then when we confirm the appointment, it is via an email, and we say, and it's usually 2 days before, we'd like to know your top 3 questions for Caroline when she visits, so that we can make the best use of our time. And they usually respond. I would say 98% of the time they respond. And through those questions, we know exactly where the conversation needs to head, what they're concerned about the most. And so I will really focus the conversation there. When we don't talk about it as a listing appointment or listing presentation, it is the listing conversation. And so the expectation with a seller is, we're coming, we're going to tour the home, just like Lois said, and then we're going to have a conversation. During that conversation, it's all about them. It's not about us, because in the pre-listing packet, it's already all about us. This hour with them is about them, their goals, what happens when they sell, where are they going, what happens if we don't sell, what's important to you, tell us about the hot damn parts of the house, and find that. And then we also set the expectation that within 24 to 48 hours, exactly like Lois says, we need to go back after we've seen the beautiful finishes that you've selected in the home. Then we're going to come up with analysis, and we'll reach out, and we'll have the appointment within 24 to 48 hours. Is that okay with you? And they say, yes, absolutely. Our clients are so busy and they're so tech driven here in the Bay Area. It's rare that we have a second in-person meeting. It's usually via Zoom now. And so, but we do have that second appointment where we talk about our pricing and why.
Carolyn, I have a question for you. Are you seeing, I mean, our market right now is unprecedented, and it's different than, I mean, we're talking about things and pretending that they're normal, but they're not.
Right.
Are you seeing in the luxury market in your area, are you seeing multiple offers?
We are still seeing, so there's luxury and there's ultra luxury. And luxury here, every city, every town, even though we're in the compact little space, is a different price point. And so let's say talk about the general luxury market. We're still seeing multiple offers. I just received, I'm actually taking offers on 2 properties right now, and I've got 14 offers on one, and it's listed for $2,998. It's going to go to $4 million.
So that's something in terms of pricing. You know, and I don't know, I have this conversation with my sellers. It's the market's going to find its price. No matter what we say and do, the market will tell you what it's going to be. And sometimes right now, we don't really know how high it's going to go. So if it's listed high, you may be in a position where you have to reduce it. If it's listed correctly or even a little aggressively, the market will drive it up. And at
Yes.
that point, you control the sale, because then you can check things off of a contract. You have more control over what it is that you ultimately want
Yes,
to make it
absolutely.
easier. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We don't overprice, we don't underprice, because some agents in our market, they price really, really low and they get 30 offers on something. It always lands where it needs to be anyway. And so our conversation with the seller is, what if you list very low, the market changes and that's what you get. But let's list at market, what market is. Maybe just we'll play with the numbers. And also you want to talk about how your buyers are searching. If somebody's searching right now in our market, they can afford $3 million. They're probably looking at properties around 2 million, from 2 million to 2.5. So that's their search parameter. So we want to be able to get those eyeballs as well. And so maybe it's 2,498 instead of 2,5. So getting the minds of the buyers is helpful.
This has been fantastic, and I've learned quite a bit from you too, and thank you guys so much for giving us your expertise. Should we open it up for some questions?
Yeah.
Does anybody have any additional questions for the ladies?
I do have a tip though, if this doesn't come up. So what happens if your seller is sitting there and saying, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. No, this is not the number I want. So what I do is I say, this is in situations like this, when it's a highly unusual home or it's an unprecedented sale, what I like to do is collect maybe 5 to 10 agents whom I trust, who know this market, and we do a REV, R-E-V, and that's called real estate valuation. So this is what we do. We invite them to the property at a certain time. We do not tell them anything about the property. The rules are they walk through, I greet them at the front door, they walk to the home, and when they exit, they hand me their card with what they think the property should be listing for and where they think it's going to be sold. So this is a neutral, unbiased, objective evaluation from other agents whom I trust and know the market. And with that, I put it on a spreadsheet. And then most of the time, and we throw away the top crazy number and we throw away the bottom nonsensical number, and we look at the numbers in the middle. And usually those are where I believe it should be listed for. Those numbers matter. And I've seen several times where the seller has changed their mind based on the REV.
That's a great nugget.
I love that. Yeah. If a seller doesn't change their mind, do you still take the listing and put it where they want it?
There have been a few times, I would say in my 18-year career, I've put this in the contract. If the property does not sell at X price within 2 weeks, we adjust the price to X which is the number I want.
Yeah, as hard as it is to see your sign in the yard of an overpriced home, it's even harder to see somebody else's sign. So, you know.
Yes, absolutely. You're absolutely right. There was one time a seller said, this property is $6 million. I know it's a $6 million property. And I said, Max, this is really a $4.5 million property. I lost it and I walked away and that was fine. The house was listed for 9 months and ended up selling around 4.5. But he had already spent time on market, all the staging costs every month, and ended up being where it should have been in the first place.
You know, with all the forms and everything that we have, the one form we don't have, and I wish we did, is the I told you so form. Because because nobody remembers those conversations.
Yeah.
So, I feel like we should just be able to bullet point that, have them sign off and file it away for when we need it later.
Create one. We should create one, Lois.
Absolutely. Yes.
Anybody have any questions? No? All right. I have a question for you. When you are researching your clients, you mentioned like social media. What other avenues should agents be looking at to research their clients?
Lois?
I like newspapers. In the search bar, Google's wonderful, but if you go into like newspapers and just search their name, it's really interesting what it turns up sometimes. If I have the time, I have periodically check the courthouse, the Register of Deeds site, just trying to get an idea, and also the tax, our local tax department, just to see if there are other properties that they may own, to get a sense of really their taste in things, or where their portfolio is, the real estate portfolio. Or, as in the case of one of mine, whether indeed them telling me that they're taking their business to Costa Rica and it turns out that he's actually going to Leavenworth, that was helpful. Mm-hmm. So you can find out a lot if you search a little bit, and you don't need to tell them that you know these things, but sometimes it helps in positioning.
Absolutely. Yes, we do look at, we use our title. Our title company has a tool where you can put in somebody's name or maybe a trust name, and it comes up any property that they own within the United States. So that's very interesting. And like you said, it's more of a profile of what their tastes are. It's part of their real estate monopoly board. What does their board look like? LinkedIn is a fantastic tool to kind of see where they've been, their history, where they went to school, etc. It's really just for background knowledge for us, right? To create that profile of them.
Also, the more you know about somebody, the more you can speak their language, mm-hmm. and create a sense of trust and comfort. Yes. When they're with you.
There was a situation where I was a newer agent, and this gentleman called to list their home, and I knew that I was competing with 5 of the top agents in that neighborhood. And he is actually a rocket scientist. He comes from a rocket scientist family. He's one of the creators of the driverless cars, autonomous vehicle, and he ended up selecting us. And I asked him why, and he said, because the entire hour was about you asking questions about us. And that the other agents, the entire time, they were talking about how great they were. So he said, and now they're clients for life. We're on their fifth property for them at this moment.
Here's a question. Do you guys see that? Oh, 1 second. How did you get started in a luxury listing? You want to start, Carolyn?
Sure. It was very intentional. And I remember starting 18 years ago and looking at homes and land. And I was like, I can do that. I can do that. I would love to represent homes like this. And so when I started at another brokerage, what I did was really just approached all the luxury agents at that time and asked to sit in their open houses. And I promised them I would leave it in better condition than when I found it, that they would get a full report of who came in, what their feedback was. And I didn't want any referral fee or anything for any leads or anything. I'll just give it all to you. I just want to learn. And so from that, I learned about what a luxury property should or should not look like, the information that you should and should not have, what the buyer profile coming in and what they were asking and what was important to them. And so I learned a lot before I was able to go out and get my first luxury listing. And it actually came from a referral from one of these agents that whom I helped host one of these open houses. And she said, you did such a great job and your presentation is fantastic. I can't take this one. Would you want this listing? I can't guarantee you're going to have it, but at least it's an opportunity. And that was amazing to be able to have done that. And then it was just from then, it was just all referrals.
What about you, Lois?
I wish I could say I was that intentional. But it's happened the way most of my life has happened, and that's just things happen. And kind of, I started in real estate similar to you, Carol, about 19 years ago. And I was feeling sorry for myself one day, sitting in the office. It was beautiful out and no other realtors were there, just me. And I picked up the phone, a call came in, and it was someone who was very upset because he named several very high profile, higher end realtors, and they weren't returning his phone call. And he said, all I want to do is buy a house on the water. And he goes, nobody's returning my call. So I don't know what got into me, but I hung up. I asked him for his phone number and his name. I got it and I hung up on him and I called him right back. And I said, how's that?
That's great.
I had a 50-50 shot. You know, I thought he was already upset with us anyway, more than likely, and he started laughing. And I said, I'm not any of those other agents, but here's the good news. I have nothing else to do but focus on you. And I can be anywhere in 30 minutes. And the best news is I can get into all the same houses and I have all the same data available to me. So what do you want to see today? I'll meet you in 30 minutes anywhere you want. And that began the beginning of a 19-year relationship.
Beautiful.
And it went from there. So I wish and I didn't know the first thing about water property. I didn't know anything about anything. But boy, did I learn fast.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And you know, it's you have to believe you can do it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you'll find out later, but you have to believe. And so, you know, and being out there. And I always remember Stephen Coley saying, behind every person, you open the door behind them, there are 100 people behind them. You never know who you're talking with, who they know. Yeah.
That's a great image, actually.
Yeah. So imagine I'm meeting you, Lois, for the first time, and you're at your front door. And I give you incredible service. I give you the information that you need. We bond. And then you say, come on in. And then there are 100 people behind them.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question for you from Sarah. She's asked, for those of us just breaking into the luxury market with only a few under our belt, what would that pre-listing packet look like?
Oh, the pre-listing packet. You want to use those luxury listings that you currently have to your full advantage. So we don't really list how all the properties that we've sold. We've used what about us, and we talk about our process. So the buy process, the sell process, and we actually have a flow chart. This is what you do, then then we do here, then we do this, and we do this, and we do this. So it's a full chart of what we do and why we do it. And then it is all of our marketing assets. So if you've already marketed a few listings, congratulations to you, by the way. what you did with those listings, how you marketed it, social media, where does it syndicate. We put KW Luxury in it. So I do have to tell you that a lot of people don't understand what KW Luxury is actually doing right now behind the scene. There's so many tools available to you. So if you do have a luxury, you don't have to be a luxury earned in agent to have access to this tool. It is Market My Luxury Listing, and it's for $195. You send all your photos to KWRI, and this is professional services, and they, within 7 business days, they will, of course, they'll call you, and it's almost like a fact finding, client information finding interview. How do you like it? How do you like the verbiage? What is your style, et cetera, et cetera. And then they create a brochure for you. They'll create the brochure, they'll create a just listed postcard, they'll create a social media campaign for you and run it for you. And any leads that come in from the social media campaign, they will tag it and put it into command. So you know that the campaign is working, who the leads are, who the leads are. It's only $195. So as long as you have a luxury qualified listing, you have access to that. And then you have access to Market My Just Sold luxury listing. That's $95, and they'll do a whole just sold campaign. So it doesn't matter if you don't have a marketing person. It doesn't matter if you don't have time to do it, or it doesn't matter if you don't know how to do it. KW Luxury has just rolled this out for you, and you can find it in the marketplace. So to go back to your question, you can start examining and going, actually, KW Luxury has 2 concierges. We're the only segment in the entire company that has concierge service. So you can email luxury@kw.com if you have any questions about all the marketing assets and what we provide, and they'll be able to share that with you. So if you don't have that pre-listing presentation yet, go online, take a look at what's available for you, and then you create some of the marketing assets in your pre-listing packet of what it could look like. And then we have our testimonials. So it doesn't have to be a luxury listing testimonial. Any listing testimonial about how you work and how you've been able to help somebody is really powerful. It's like the power of Yelp, right? Sometimes I won't trust my husband, but I'll trust a complete stranger's opinion about something. And so having those testimonials are extremely important. And then it's the comp. So that's what I would put in if I don't have too many listings.
That's great. Really great.
What was the?
What was the site for marketing?
So if you go to KW Connect, so log into KW Connect, go to communities, and then you'll see KW Luxury. And then you scroll down, you're going to see all the marketing assets that you can have. If you are KW earned in luxury agents already, you're going to see Marketing Hub, and that's even more assets that you can have. Any questions you might have, just email luxury@kw.com and they'll be able to help you.
All right, well, good. Does anybody else have any questions? You guys have just really showered us with such great nuggets, and thank you so much for taking time out of your day to prepare for this and to come on. I know you guys are very busy. Before we part, do you just want to leave it open? Are there any questions? Don't be afraid. If there aren't any silly questions, that's why we're all here together.
I just put in my email, so reach out anytime, and usually Germany will respond. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. My office hour days are usually Mondays, so I'm happy to meet in 15-minute blocks if you like.
Oh, and what was the first gift after the listing?
Sorry?
Says, can you repeat the part about the first gift after listing?
First gift?
Yeah, I'm not. Charity, do you want to try maybe clarify that?
Yeah, so it was something like after the listing, I don't know, something about a box. Was it a gift or?
Oh, no, that's our pre-listing packet. A pre-listing book is bound. It's put in a box with a bow, and it's hand delivered.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
But Charity,
Yes.
Separate from listing throughout the transaction, we've tried to celebrate or commiserate during ups and downs. So we actually have like spa in a box that we bring over when it's just,
Yeah.
when they maybe just had their home inspection, or something celebratory when we have everything worked out and we're going towards closing. So we try to keep in contact in a very physical way where we're showing that we're paying attention. And I have found that really, particularly, we write a little note, when they're maybe about to lose it, or it's a very high tense situation.
Yeah,
And
that's what I was wondering. Like,
Yeah,
celebrate
yeah.
the milestones, maybe an inspection or appraisal or whatever the steps are, rather than just one at closing.
No, yeah, we've gone so far as to do, well, tequila and straws, sometimes.
That's awesome.
Just saying. But we do have, like, we have some hand milled lavender soap and a candle and some things to put in, just to sort of like take a break. We could call it spa in a box, and we just drop it off. It looks very nice, and just a note saying, we understand, we know where you are, and we're going to get through this together. So things
Okay.
like that. Just find
Perfect.
ways to celebrate.
Love that. I absolutely love that. We have marker moments as well. I know Brady has defining moments in the transaction.
Yeah.
And so when they are packing up and editing all of their things from the room so that we get ready for stagers, we always send them pizza or something at lunch to get them through the day. We know how busy it is. We write notes right before open house, our first open house. We write notes to them, movie tickets, go take this weekend, go watch a movie. And we, if they love their dog, we get dog biscuits for them. We know how stressful it is for their little doggies. And then if they have children, we write notes to the children with ice cream gift cards and say, thank you so much for being such an important part of this process. We know how hard it is to clean up all your favorite toys. We can't wait to help you pick your next room. And you've been so important. You've been just as important as anybody else in this process. So we thank you. So paying attention there. And when it gets bumpy, we do send something like Lois does. When we are signing, we used to sign in person. Now it's all mobile notary since COVID. So before the notary arrives, always within 30 minutes before the notary arrives, a bottle of champagne arrives with a handwritten note. Congratulations, we're toasting you on signing your closing papers. And then at closing, at moving, they also get the last dinner on us at their home. We send it to them, and we get so many responses of saying, oh my gosh, thank you so much for making our last meal on the floor in our dining room so memorable. And then a closing gift, and that is specific to them.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's important too. It's not a one size fits all in terms of closing gifts.
Yes.
Like you really try to show that you see who they are.
Yes, 100%. So we use Bevmo or Drizzly. Bevmo is actually really easy. And then sometimes they include a card, sometimes they don't. So you have to be very, very specific. And then also Instacart can send things from your grocery store or something like that. But we always have Veuve Clicquot as our champagne because it's orange, and orange is our logo.
Well, good. All right. Well, I think that's it. I think that answered your question, Charity, about a local courier service.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you both.
You're welcome.
Right. Well, thank you, ladies, so much for your time. This was incredibly informative, and I learned a lot. So thank you again, and we hope to see you soon. And we'll make sure that you both get a copy of this, so if you ever need to use it again, you can.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. Good luck, everybody.
So Carolyn, where might I see you again? You said that was where?
Oh, so I'm going to be at Spring Masterminds next week in Nashville, and then October, I'm not telling you yet. You're good. You're good. Bye, everybody.
Take care.